Welcome back to G Fun Facts Online. It is January 1st, 2026. Happy New Year. As we step into this new year, the eyes of the scientific world are turning away from the red dust of Mars and toward the blinding white clouds of our other neighbor, Venus. For decades we wrote Venus off. It was the cautionary tale, the planetary hellscape with surface temperatures hot enough to melt lead and crushing atmospheric pressure. We called it the planet of death. But today, standing here in 2026, that narrative has been completely shattered. We are living through one of the most intense, controversial, and thrilling scientific detective stories of the 21st century. It is the story of a molecule that should be there, a debate that tore the astronomy community apart, and a daring search for life in the toxic clouds of the morning star. So let's dive deep into the saga of Venusian phosphine. To really understand why everyone is so excited, and why there is a private mission sitting on a launch pad in New Zealand right now, we have to go back to the chemistry. We need to talk about phosphine. It is a simple molecule, just one phosphorus atom bonded to 3 hydrogen atoms, shaped like a little pyramid. If you go to gas giants like Jupiter or Saturn, phosphine is everywhere. It is forged in the crushing heat and pressure of the deep interior, and then dredged up by massive storms. In a hydrogen-rich atmosphere like Jupiter's, phosphine is chemically expected. It belongs there. But on a rocky planet like Venus, or Earth, phosphine is a chemical anomaly. Venus has an oxidized atmosphere. It is dominated by carbon dioxide and thick clouds of sulfuric acid. In that kind of environment, phosphorus naturally wants to bond with oxygen to form phosphates. For phosphorus to bond with hydrogen instead, defying the thermodynamic gradient, requires a massive input of energy. On Earth, we only see phosphine produced in 2 ways. One is industrial, used as a fumigant, or in making semiconductors. The other is biological. It is produced by anaerobic microbes, bacteria that thrive in oxygen-starved environments like marshlands, sewage sludge, and even inside the intestinal tracts of animals. For astrobiologists, phosphine is what we call a pure biosignature. Unlike methane, which can leak out of rocks, or oxygen, which can be split from water by UV light, there is no known geological process on a rocky world that produces phosphine in significant quantities. That is the context. Now, rewind 6 years. In September 2020, Professor Jane Greaves of Cardiff University and her team published a paper that dropped a bomb on the scientific community. They had pointed the James Clerk Maxwell telescope in Hawaii at Venus, actually looking for a baseline zero result to calibrate future observations. Instead, they found a signal, a spectral absorption line at 1.123 millimeters. It was unmistakable, and it corresponded exactly to the rotational transition of the phosphine molecule. They didn't believe it at first, so they went to the more powerful ALMA array in Chile, and the signal was still there. They calculated an abundance of about 20 parts per billion. Now, 20 parts per billion sounds tiny, like a drop in an ocean, but for a gas that is chemically forbidden from existing there, it was a deafening scream. The authors were careful. They said the presence of phosphine was unexplained. They had spent years ruling out volcanoes, lightning, meteors, and surface chemistry. None of it added up. The implication was heavy. Either it was unknown chemistry, or it was life. Naturally, science did what science does best. It attacked the claim. From 2020 to 2025, we saw a period of scientific turbulence that was absolutely brutal. The skeptics came out swinging. Some argued it was a data processing error, that the wavy baseline of the radio data had been overcorrected, creating a signal where there was just noise. Others pointed out that sulfur dioxide, which is very common on Venus, has a spectral line right next to phosphine, and maybe the team just misidentified it. Then there were the atmospheric physicists who argued that even if phosphine was being made, sunlight would destroy it so fast that you would need an impossible production rate to maintain that 20 parts per billion. For a moment in 2021, it looked like the discovery was going to evaporate. But then the plot thickened. The team reanalyzed the data, corrected the calibrations, and the signal remained. It was fainter, but it was there, specifically peaking in the upper clouds. And then came the double whammy. In 2023 and 2024, using data from the Green Bank telescope, the team didn't just reaffirm the phosphine. They found something else. Tentative evidence for ammonia. If phosphine was strange, ammonia is baffling. Ammonia is another hydrogen-rich gas that has no business existing in an oxidized, acidic atmosphere. On Earth, ammonia is a hallmark of biological waste. Its presence on Venus solved a major problem for the life hypothesis, which we will get to in a minute, but it made the abiotic argument twice as hard to sustain. You might be able to explain one weird gas with a freak geological event, but explaining 2 distinct biosignature gases that happen to be chemically complementary? That is a statistical nightmare for geology. By late 2025, the consensus shifted. The gases appear to be real. The question is no longer if they are there, but what is making them. Could it be the planet itself? We have to look at the dead planet hypothesis. Could volcanoes do it? Researchers proposed that explosive volcanism could blast phosphorus from the deep mantle. But Venus is incredibly dry. For volcanoes to drive that kind of chemistry, the magma would need water content similar to Earth's, which contradicts everything we know about Venus formation. Plus, we would see massive spikes in sulfur dioxide and thermal hotspots from orbiters like Akatsuki. We didn't see them. What about lightning? Lightning is a great chemist. It shatters molecules. But calculations showed that even if Venus had more lightning than Earth, it would fall short of producing the observed phosphine by a factor of millions. It just isn't energetic enough. That leaves us with unknown chemistry. Photochemistry in the upper atmosphere is chaotic. It is possible there is a pathway we haven't discovered in our labs on Earth. But unknown chemistry is just a placeholder for ignorance. Until a specific pathway is found, the door to biology remains wide open. And that brings us to the wildest hypothesis of all, the aerial biosphere. We know the surface of Venus is a sterilized pressure cooker, but 50 kilometers up? The conditions are startlingly Earth-like. The temperature is a pleasant 30 to 60 degrees Celsius. The pressure is roughly 1 bar, the same as sea level on Earth. It is a temperate zone sandwiched between the freezing vacuum of space and the oven below. The big problem with living there is the clouds themselves. They aren't water, they are droplets of concentrated sulfuric acid. On Earth, even the toughest acid-loving bacteria struggle below a pH of 0. The Venusian clouds have a pH of roughly -1.5. That environment should strip the water out of any cell and destroy its DNA instantly. But remember the ammonia discovery? That changed everything. In 2021, researchers from MIT and Cardiff proposed a model where life produces ammonia specifically to survive. Ammonia is a base. If microbes inside a sulfuric acid droplet secreted ammonia, it would react with the acid to form ammonium sulfate. This reaction neutralizes the droplet, raising the pH from a lethal -1.5 to a manageable +1.0. It turns the droplet into a slurry, a salty, watery bubble where life could survive. This model is elegant because it explains other anomalies we've seen for decades. Back in 1978, the Pioneer Venus probe detected large, non-spherical particles in the lower clouds that didn't match the behavior of pure liquid acid. Slurries of ammonium sulfate would look exactly like that. It also explains the oxygen depletion we see. So how would these creatures live? The theory suggests a vertical migration cycle. Active microbes live in the lower cloud deck, about 48 to 52 kilometers up, floating in their neutralized droplets, metabolizing sunlight or sulfur. But as droplets collide and grow, they get heavy and rain out. They fall into the lower haze, where it gets too hot. There, the microbes would dry out and enter a spore state, becoming dormant husks. Then, gravity waves or thermal updrafts catch these lightweight spores and loft them back up into the temperate zone, where they gather moisture, wake up, and restart the cycle. It is a precarious existence, surfing the toxic winds, forever fleeing the surface. For the last 5 years, since the 2020 announcement, we have been trying to get a closer look. We checked old data. Rakesh Moghul and his team dug into the 1978 Pioneer archives and found that the mass spectrometer actually detected a molecule with the atomic mass of phosphine back then, but it was dismissed as a weird isotope. We had near misses with spacecraft. The European Bepi Colombo probe flew past Venus in 2020 and 2021 on its way to Mercury. We hoped it would see something, but its instruments were designed for the searing heat of Mercury, not the delicate trace gases of Venus. It looked too high up and with the wrong sensitivity. Then ESA's JUICE mission swung by in August 2025 on its way to Jupiter. But because that probe is built for the deep cold of the outer solar system, it had to keep its main instruments turned off or shielded from the sun during the Venus flyby. It passed like a ship in the night. But now, the waiting is over. This brings us to right now, January 2026. The private sector has stepped in. Standing on the launch pad at Launch Complex 1 in New Zealand is the Rocket Lab Venus Lifefinder. This mission is driven by the vision of CEO Peter Beck and MIT's Sarah Seeger. It is small, cheap, and focused. The spacecraft will deploy a small probe, only about 40 centimeters across. It will hit the Venusian atmosphere at 11 kilometers per second. It has no parachute. It doesn't need to land. It only needs to survive the fall. For about 330 seconds, just 5.5 minutes as it plummets through the habitable cloud deck, it will run a single experiment. It carries an autofluorescence nephelometer. It will shine a UV laser out through a quartz window into the clouds. If organic molecules, like amino acids, or complex ring structures, are present inside those droplets, they will fluoresce. They will glow back. This probe isn't looking for phosphine directly. It is looking for the complex chemistry that phosphine implies. If that laser sees fluorescence, it will be the first direct detection of organic material within the cloud droplets of another planet. It wouldn't be definitive proof of life. Complex organics can be abiotic, but it would be the smoking gun that justifies everything else. And regardless of what Rocket Lab finds this summer, the heavy cavalry is coming. The 2030s will be the decade of Venus. NASA is launching DAVINCI around 2031. DAVINCI is a chemist. It will drop a descent sphere that will sip the atmosphere all the way down. Its mass spectrometer is sensitive enough to distinguish between isotopes, which can tell us if the phosphine has a biological or geological signature. NASA is also launching VERITAS, which will map the surface in 3D to solve the volcano debate once and for all. If volcanoes are making the gas, VERITAS will find the smoking vents. Europe is sending Envision to look at the interaction between the ground and the air. And there are proposals like VERV, a UK-led CubeSat, designed specifically to chase the phosphine and ammonia signals. As we wait for the launch this year, it is worth reflecting on how much has changed. For 50 years, habitability meant liquid water on the surface. We looked for blue marbles. Venus has taught us that we might need to look for yellow ones. It has forced us to consider aerial biospheres, ecosystems that exist entirely in the sky, untethered from the ground. If the phosphine is abiotic, we are about to discover a completely new branch of photochemistry. But if it is biotic, the implications are staggering. It would mean that life is not a miracle that happened once on a blue planet, but a stubborn, resilient force that clings to existence even as a planet dies. It would mean we are not alone in the solar system, just separated by a few million kilometers of vacuum and a cloud of acid. The signal is there. The telescopes have done their job. The robots are ready to fly. The clouds of Venus are waiting. Thanks for listening to G Fun Facts Online.